Hey everybody, welcome to another Beauty and the Twin video. So we are here in the Del Sol Valley for the Roca twins. The Roca twins consist of Evangeline Roca and her sister Nicola Jung. Now she's recently changed her last name and we're going to uncover that throughout this entire story. But first I want to talk about some calendar updates that I made for my gameplay purposes. So what you're seeing on the calendar here are the holidays I've added in. So the Sunday that's not showing up on the game that we just passed is Memorial Day. Now that's not set up to be like the American Memorial Day holiday or anything like that. It's actually set up as a day of remembrance in the game for when we get future into the generations and people start to die off, so that we have kind of a dedicated day that we can remember everybody and celebrate them and kind of gather the whole family together. Then what you're going to be seeing is that for the rest of summer, I've actually added in summer vacation to each of the days of summer just to build in a summer vacation for my Sims. Now, I don't know how true that is to everybody else's experience, but my school never ran in the summertime, and that was kind of the reason behind that. I'm not sure that I really like them having the paid day off work, but you can't distinguish between the two in the Sims, so for right now, that's how it is. In the future, maybe I'll find a mod or something to be able to update that so that it reflects that more vividly. Then starting off in fall, the first day is going to be Halloween, and I built that in just because I like the costume and the spooky stuff aspect. And then, of course, we have Harvest Fest finishing up fall. Now, in winter, you'll notice that I still have Winterfest and I still have New Year's Eve, but I've added a winter vacation day in between just so it makes a little bit more sense, so they don't have like a day on, a day off, a day on, you know? And then, of course, spring is still Love Day. We're going to do a quick walkthrough of their house real quick. I'm super excited about how I decorated it. I just updated the exterior of this house, and then I did the interior decoration. What I really love is when we first go into their bedroom, how you can see that it's like definitely like Nicola's bedroom. You think that the whole room is hers, but then like shoved in that little corner is where Evangeline is. And I think that that design idea of mine perfectly talks about the dynamic of the two twins, that Nicola tends to be a little bit more dominant, where Evangeline's a little bit more timid. And you'll actually see that play out in the love story that they created, because I made a Sim to be a love for Evangeline, and he actually ended up dating Nicola. So it's kind of like this weird dichotomy between the two of like one wants to be super popular and outgoing and the other one's just not that way at all. Also, Evangeline tends to be a little bit more subservient to her sister, so she tends to do a little bit more for her sister than she does for herself. And just totally ignore the floating paper towels in the kitchen. I must have not had move object cheats on when I went in to film this. I always use the bb.move objects when I'm, building a house, but I must not have turned it on for the filming, which is totally fine. Now, I do really love the aesthetic of their living room. Like that living room as I was building it was just so goals to me. I'm so happy with it. So here I've just pieced together a little bit of clips of them doing some of their like everyday things, like Evangeline's working on homework. I think in a little bit you're going to see her typing on the computer practicing her writing, because she does want to be a best-selling author. And then you're going to see her playing her guitar, which is something that she's actually decent at. She's not like maxed out on the guitar skill, but she is pretty decently along on that. And of course you saw Nicola just floating around in the pool. She tends to just do things like that. Like, she'll practice acting for sure, but then she just kind of like, bats around the house doing like absolutely nothing. She's a D student, so I don't know what I expected from her. And while they're here just kind of hanging out with their friends and like chit-chatting with all of the people that they know, I think it's probably important that I backtrack a little bit and let you guys know that Nicola actually wants to be a world-famous actress. That's her life aspiration. And part of the reason why she took the Jung last name is that's actually their mother's maiden name. And all of the women in the Jung family actually were famous actresses. So there is sort of like a tiny reason for the name change right there. And then Evangeline actually wants to be a best-selling author, and actually the story that she really wants to tell, she actually really wants to tell the story of her family history, which could be problematic for Nicola. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't want to give away any spoilers of the backstory because the backstory is the only thing I have planned out, and I have it planned out to come out in her writing. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, that might cause a little friction between the two twins. So Evangeline and Sterling, who's the boy you're seeing on the screen now, those were the two that I kind of created for each other. I had made Sterling as a love interest for Evangeline, and at first it kind of works out. So over the next like couple of scenes, you're gonna see him and her like talking, getting to know each other, and then you're actually gonna see him go outside in the pool with Nicola, and Nicola's gonna make a couple moves on him, but he like flat out turned her down. Like, did not want anything to do with her when I played it this first time. And then you'll see, like, him and Evangeline kind of kiss and, like, are, you know, very, like, cuddly close or whatever. And for whatever reason, the second time I went to go play with them, which is the footage from the camping trip, literally, like, there's such a flip in him. And all of a sudden, he, like, you know, he's still friendly with Evangeline, but he doesn't want to flirt with her or anything like that. And then he actually, like, starts dating Nicola, which was, like, a huge, like, mind-blown moment to me because I had made him with Evangeline in mind. And so I had, like, sort of made them in a way that, like, The Sims should have brought them together, but it didn't. Now, it sort of makes sense to me, though, because I feel like, at least as far as teenagers go, like, Sterling and Nicola are kind of very much that stereotypical, like, head cheerleader and then quarterback of the football team, like, type stereotype. So it kind of makes sense that they gravitated towards each other. I'm still hoping long term, though, he can be endgame for Evangeline. But honestly, with the autonomy that the Sims have been throwing at me lately, like, that could totally be way out the window, and I could be way off base with that assumption. So we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, it's totally mind blown. Like, I could not believe that he went from one twin to the other in, like, the span of a sim day. Like, it created so much drama, and it's so much fun that I'm so excited to get to play with that dynamic. And so here the girls are discussing over food, a camping trip. They want to do something with the new friends that they've made here in Del Sol Valley. They haven't known each other a long time, but they want to get to know them. So they've decided to go on a camping trip to Granite Falls. And so they're going to invite along their friend Sophia, their friend Morgan, as well as Sterling. And that's where things get really interesting in the love triangle of Sterling, Evangeline, and Nicola. So while some of the scenes are playing out in front of you, I think it's important to mention that I'm not actually recording this audio as I'm playing the game. I can capture audio while I'm capturing the footage. However, usually when I'm playing The Sims, it's when I have my toddler with me and he is not the quietest. And so to save you all the shrieks of joy and giggles and all of that, I have been doing the audio separately. I do plan to start doing the audio together, so please let me know in the comments down below if it's something that bothers you, if it's something that doesn't bother you, and I can try and work around it. I don't have the best audio capture footage. Actually, right now I'm using my Mac laptop and my Apple headphones to record the audio, so that should give you an idea of how a non-professional this whole setup is. But I wanted to go ahead and mention that to you guys just so you are aware of why the audio sometimes sounds the way that it sounds. Now here Evangeline's just really getting to know Sophia. They're just having a quick chat. She figures she might as well make the best of it. Clearly they're on a camping trip with mostly Nicola's friends. And she's going to try and talk to Morgan a little bit. Her and Morgan don't have as strong as a relationship as her and Sophia, so I feel like Sophia is a little bit of the nicer one. Morgan is the head of the Renegades in The Sims, so it makes sense that she's a little meaner. And then I think out here, Sophia is going to come join Nicola, and they're just going to have like a little powwow. I had them try and get to know each other a little bit. I felt like maybe Nicola was bragging a little bit that she's taking her sister's crush from her. Like, I can't believe she thinks he likes her. And then actually a little bit later on in the evening when they finished up dinner, Nicola actually has everybody come into her room except for Evangeline, which is super mean, but it's kind of the personality that Nicola's kind of embodying. She's been embodying like that stereotypical like mean girl, popular girl type stereotype. And so she's definitely excluding her sister a little bit, which I find very like disheartening, but it happens. I mean, anybody who's a younger sibling knows that the older siblings always like try and leave you out. And anyone who's an older sibling knows that like it's just pesky to have the little ones running around. So she's having everybody come into her room and they're dancing, and you can clearly see that Evangeline's like in her own room sleeping. And they're just kind of chit-chatting, getting to know each other. I feel like, yeah, they had like a little flirty moment there. And then I think right after Sophia leaves is when they actually got into the shower to mess around, which I was not expecting and was very like forward of Nicola, but I feel like that just flies with her character. See, like they just like hopped right in. Super shocked. But yeah, so that happened. So clearly he's picked a sister. And then poor Evangeline's just in here sleeping, like has no idea that her crush is like sleeping with her sister right now. It's just awful. I couldn't even imagine. And then I think the next morning, her and Sterling they talk over breakfast. I cut out some of the things that like I found unimportant. See, they had like a flirty moment there too. You saw the little heart pluses. But I feel like they were just like chit-chatting, getting to know each other. And then everyone's just kind of sitting around eating lunch. And I felt like maybe the girls were just kind of like gossiping and talking about stuff. And you can kind of see that both Evangeline and Sterling are like not into it or whatever. And then so as it started to rain, I actually had Evangeline come outside with Morgan. And I felt like Morgan would be kind of an antagonist of like, you know, he slept with your sister last night. Like, I don't know why you're so hung up on this guy. And so Evangeline's going to go on like a walk in the rain, which doesn't seem super smart, but she just needs to get out of the house for a little bit. She can't kind of be there. She's trying to process the fact that, you know, this guy that she kissed yesterday, that like she had a crush on, that she thought maybe could go somewhere, like slept with her sister. And so she like kind of comes outside and is just kind of having a moment to herself, trying to think things through and figure out what to do. And she was actually kind of tired, so I had her fall asleep on the bench. So she kind of stays out in like the thunderstorm. But then the real kicker was that like, you know, nobody's really noticing that she's gone. You know, the girls are just in here like playing music, having a dance party, and no one has realized that Evangeline is nowhere to be found. So it was kind of sad, honestly. And eventually Evangeline comes back home. Now, I did lose some of the footage. I don't know if it just didn't capture it or if it did, but there was kind of a moment where she comes into the house late at night and Sterling's the only one awake, and they had kind of a little bit of a conversation, and I had him doing some of the like consoling actions because she's really sad. And then she ends up spending the night in his bed. They don't do anything. It's like a totally platonic, like nothing happens, sleep in the bed. But I kind of just imagine like she's come in, she's like soaking wet, she's really depressed, and he's just a really good friend to her, so he like lets her stay the night. And then, oh my God, lightning struck into the house. Like, I cannot even believe that it struck right into this house, but it did. And then it actually hit Morgan, and so you see Morgan get struck by lightning, and then you're actually going to see her catching Evangeline coming out of Sterling's room. And then the very next scene is her texting Nicola, because I feel like she's just the type to be like, oh my God, guess who I saw coming out of your boyfriend's room? But of course, Evangeline's a really good sim, so she has a conversation with Sterling in the morning, and she's basically like, hey, like, clearly I know things are happening with you and my sister, and if, you know, I don't want to get in the way of that, and I don't want last night to come in the way of anything, and they kind of have, she kind of like goes and sleeps on the couch, and then when I came back, he was like dancing and she was waking up, and he like goes to show her something on his phone, but it almost looked like they had kind of a moment after the phone, so I don't think that the Sterling Evangeline story is dead. And then I just added a little clip of Evangeline making lunch before they leave, and of course it was raining their very last day camping. And then they get back home. They're going inside. They did bring Sterling home with them. He does end up spending the night again. Evangeline went in at first to take a nap, and when she woke up, she went right on the computer, and Sterling came over and was talking to her because of course they have a really high friendship. But then Nicola just comes out of nowhere and just starts making out with him, clearly staking her territory or whatever. And then they have kind of a cute moment where they actually become boyfriend and girlfriend, which I thought was kind of cool. That one I had to force. But, I mean, if you look at their romance meter, their romance meter is up so high that it just made sense. And then I'm just going to end it with a little clip of them sleeping and a little look out the window at what's to come next. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.